Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody who may be watching this presentation. My name is Bruno Paludo. I'm a master's student at PUC Paraná, and today I'll be presenting a multi-criteria decision-making framework aimed at optimizing the use of tax reliefs for green innovation projects. In this presentation, I'll introduce my master's research, talk about the problem statement, list all the related works that we identified in our structured literature review, and propose the framework, identifying our expected results and the conclusions. Investments made in research and development and innovation projects have been continually rising throughout the years. It's a strategic goal for governments throughout the world, and multiple laws and schemes are passed to establish fiscal and tax incentive for companies that invest in RD&I, so research, development, and innovation projects. These incentives they tend to be more beneficial to green innovation and green R&D projects. Due to the diversity of incentives available and their specific requirements to utilization, we have developed a framework that's capable to prioritize the company's green innovation project through a systematic approach that will remove bias from project managers in this prioritization process. Each available incentive and subsidy has its own rules, regulations, and characteristics to apply for the incentive. Also, different projects contain different features, different information, different personnel, and also the company's strategic plan may direct resources to preferred projects such as ESG projects and ESG R&D projects. Hence, how can the optimization of tax reliefs usage impact green innovation and green innovation projects? This is the problem statement of this research, and we have elaborated a picture, an image that proposes this flow, this process without a formal and systematic approach. So we have eventual ulterior risks to this process, which are eventual audits from with notation and disallowed expenses from government authorities. We have the execution of projects without proper prioritization, and also the archiving of good projects due to lack of funding or lack of knowledge from where the resources may come from, such as the incentives. With this in mind, we conducted a structured review and identified 14 different papers that were discussing integrations of green innovation with government subsidy and companies' strategy. But we did not find a single paper that would analyze all three domains simultaneously. They were always comparing in pairs. So this research discovered a gap in the literature regarding this integration of green RD&I incentives, projects, and the company's strategy. With those papers substantiating our research and considering the problem statement, we developed and proposed this framework identified in the image within this slide, which comprises of three different crucial steps to operate. The first is identified with the letter A on top of the image, which is a data collection encompassing the incentives, global ESG guidelines, and corporate strategies and project attributes. So we basically map information from projects features, from ESG guidelines and company strategy, and from the incentives available. And we then proceed to the letter B, which is the second stage, which is the composition of a formal intelligence knowledge library. And here we'll have three different databases, one for each of the domains, that will be composed of data arising from the initial mapping that we conducted in the first step. Finally, we'll have the actual activation and utilization flow, which is in letter C, where the manager will demand the framework and the data will be processed according to this demand. We'll have a prioritization criteria set up for the multi-criteria decision-making process. And then the framework will do cross-analysis based on this parameterization. And finally, we'll have a list of all the projects that the company has. So the project portfolio of the company listed according to the best possible execution order. And for each of these projects, there will be the indication of the best composition of governmental incentives and subsidies and tax reliefs for the specific projects. So delving a little bit deeper into the first step of the framework, this constant mapping of the available subsidies, incentives, the ESG guidelines, it will be conducted for the reality of Brazil. So the region selected for this initial test will be Brazil, but the data collection process and the essential criteria for analyzing the incentives and ESG guidelines, project features, this will be standardized. So the idea behind this standardization is that researchers from around the world may readily adapt the framework to their specific local needs and their specific local incentives and grants and subsidies that are available for their projects, for their R&D, green R&D projects. We also expect to, in the future, implement web scraping so that this step is automatized in order for the process to be faster and more resilient. After this initial stage, data will undergo a treatment procedure by cleaning data, removing duplicates, handling missing values with input or removal, and correcting the identified errors. Then this data gathered will undergo a normalization phase and aggregation in different levels to be yet to be defined. And the data sets will be merged and matched to ensure that records from the other data sets that refer to the same entity, they are correct and correspondent. So the database will then be analyzed for any outliers detection. And lastly, a consistency check will be performed. After undergoing this procedure, we expect to have the formal intelligent knowledge library ready to be utilized by either the multi-criteria decision framework, but also in the future may be utilized by AI models. The last stage of the framework is the stage of utilization. So this stage comprises the step of parameterizing the framework and the criteria utilized for the multi-criteria decision-making process, which will be supported by the formal library. And the parameterization will be made by the user, so usually by the company's project manager and portfolio manager. And the result of undergoing this process will be the list of projects in the most efficient execution order. And the framework, as stated previously, will provide each project with the best possible mix of incentives and tax reliefs and subsidies available. So based on the mapping of the information input. This should help the companies to execute the projects with not only with the best execution order, but with financial optimization. Researchers have already shown that governmental subsidies tied to ESG criteria drive green innovation and improve companies' innovation performance, creating a virtuous cycle where better ESG outcomes tend to lead to increased access to subsidies. This framework then optimizes the project portfolios and identifies suitable subsidies to enhance both ESG outcome and innovation performance to companies. Also, this framework may enhance the policymaking and governmental subsidies elaboration by providing crucial data to policymakers and also to the companies which utilize it. Finally, this framework aims to bridge the gap between limited funding availability and the pressing need for innovation, especially in developing countries and especially when we're talking about green innovation and green R&D. Companies should have more resilient and suitable internal processes regarding their R&D projects, And we expect to evaluate all these premises through a case study in Brazil to be conducted in a company, in an industry here, in the following year of 2025. So I thank you all for watching this presentation, and I leave my contact here in case you have any follow-up questions, and I'm here to clarify. Thank you all.